Welcome to this week's Q&A. We have a question from someone in Seattle in the USA this week, an Australian expat living and working there. And his question is, look, I'm getting all sorts of information on the internet and other news channels in relation to the housing market downturn in Australia, and I'm looking to buy something in Sydney, which we may move into down the track sometime. And I'd like to know how far we are into this housing downturn cycle that everyone keeps speaking about. So, great question. And it also shows me that the power of the media is quite extraordinary. And people often, especially if they're Australian expats working offshore, long way away from home, they're generally really busy, that may be both professionally and with family lives and young children, and they just don't have time to look at everything that's happening from a realistic viewpoint in terms of current data. So hard for them to do their research other than looking at news articles and newspaper stories, etc., generally digital, that may portray a different picture to what's going on in the market and may cause them to make some poor, ill-informed choices. So look, the reality is that all of the data and all the numbers show us that the current housing downturn in residential real estate around Australia would seem to have bottomed out earlier this year, January, February, in most capital city and other markets. So, something to bear in mind that waiting for this downturn to show itself to its fullest degree, and I guess from this person's viewpoint, offer them some kind of a better entry point into the market or a bargain, etc., may be perhaps ill-advised. So, if you look at the actual data, Sydney prices are up anywhere between 5 and 7%, depending on whatever quartile of the property market there that we're looking at. So, the upper quartile has performed better than the lower quartile in Sydney in particular. But, those things vary across different markets around Australia. And it's important to get a look at all of that if you're looking to buy into a certain area. But I would suggest that the data certainly shows us that the downturn is well and truly over at this point in time. And unless there's some kind of extrinsic event that the RBA has to raise interest rates continually for a further period of time, that we will see any greater downturn eventuate in the cycle. And I know this has caught many or most forecasters immensely off guard, where they were predicting falls of anywhere between 20 and 35% in the Australian residential property market, and that certainly hasn't come to pass, as we all now know. So look, great question. If you find this of interest, then subscribe to our YouTube channel and click like, and also listen to our quarterly review, which is coming up in August, where we'll go through some of this data in far greater detail and also try and ascertain what impacts that may have going forward. I'll see you at next week's Q&A. I'm Andrew Unterweger.